everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by Bet365 and Ace Hardware Home Services. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, and go to www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. Zach Berman, great to see you. How the hell are you?
I'm doing well. Excited to see you. Excited for the show. A little melancholy today, but I'm doing well.
Trying to figure out. Let me just get the.
Yeah, you're really struggling there. And
well, I want to make sure that we are living up to the production standards.
Well
so I got to make sure that we're evenly matched here. Our heads, our sizes, we're in the middle. Most people, I would say, a slight majority, listen to the show instead of watch the show. But that doesn't mean we can thumb our nose at the people who want to take a look at your beautiful face.
Well, I took this job for the visual component of it. So, I think the visual presentation is important. But yeah, as I said, it's melancholy today because it's the last day of the season for us. We transitioned to the non-playing season now. Now the cadence of it with this job, it's a little different. We're still doing the show every day. It's not like, we're just at home on the phone writing. But the reality is, 13 years of this, my favorite part of the year, there's a cadence to the season. My favorite part is the actual playing season, the football season. Going in every day, the chance to learn something new, to have different conversations. It's a joy. Like every day I go to NovaCare is a joy. And so, I'm going to miss that.
Every day you go to NovaCare is a joy?
Every day I go to NovaCare is a joy. Yeah, honestly. I stand by that. Now, some days you enjoy more than others, but every day you get to do, you go in that locker room, and for 45 minutes, like, you don't know what you're going to get at the end of it. It's competitive. It's exciting. It's exhilarating. Yeah, I love that, and I'm going to miss that. What?
Well, I was going to say, circling back to the beginning of your answer, at what point do you feel like, how many years into this job do you think you'll have to re-explain to yourself and the audience the difference between this job and the old job?
Well, this is my second off season doing this, so probably, I would say probably after this off season, you're kind of entrenched, and then so by that point, but even last year, we were still figuring it out, right? It was a shock to my system coming into the studio every day last off season. Now we're kind of in a routine. I think there's 140 shows that we got to map out, and I'm eager to do so.
140 shows between now and training camp?
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I'll say that doesn't excite you?
That's a lot of shows.
It's a lot of opportunity. Look at it that way.
So 70. Hold on. 140 shows.
Let's get to the.
That can't be right.
I can pull up the exact number here. Here, hold on here.
So there's 52 weeks in a year.
If you want to filibuster,
2 times 5, essentially. Actually, 6 during the season. So I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe that is right.
Here you go. So if I can speak out loud, and Julia wants me to tilt my camera down. Is this right, Julia?
No, she wants it all the way down. That's what the listeners want, the viewers want.
All right, that's a weird comment that I am not going to entertain. So if you can just outline what today was. What's that?
There's a super chat asking for that.
If you can outline what today was while I go through this.
I think the conceit of this show today, we're gonna talk about. I think we'll just ping pong back and forth. Who did you talk to? What did you learn? What were the takeaways? And I got a list of about 10 guys here who I think said something that were interesting, worth discussing. So we'll go back and forth. Yes, I think Julia just wants you to avoid having the point of the building in the logo from like going up your chin.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's actually 120. We have 120 shows. Not 140. Now you take out July 4th and Memorial Day because those are the only 2 holidays during this period. That's 118 shows.
Okay.
But if you factor in emergency shows, free agent signings,
Sure.
draft shows, my guess is we'll probably be at 140.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there are 118 scheduled shows for all the wonderful advertisers out there, and then but there will be some bonus shows in there, and some days we might be doing 2 or 3.
All right, we know what we've got some. I would imagine we've got some new viewers here who are joining the fray for the first time. Let's get to the Eagles content,
Please.
Zach. I know that's what you want to do. Why don't you start? Who was the most interesting person that you talked to? For who do you want to start with at the top?
Well, let's start with Jalen Hurts.
Okay,
he's the MVP. He's the franchise player, and he was the headliner, right? Having a chance to catch up with Jalen, and he said you spend 364 days working for what he experienced there. But he also said that the pain of losing was better than the joy of winning, basically. And
not better, but more significant.
More significant. Yeah, I'm sorry, not better. Yes, more significant. That the
Super Bowl loss hurt more than the Super Bowl win felt good.
He said the joy of winning still had no comparison to the pain of losing it. And so those things are still going to continue to motivate me and drive me internally. So it's probably similar to what it's not similar to AJ Brown's sentiment, but it's
not dissimilar.
Yeah, he's not content now. It's similar to Howie Roseman's sentiment, probably, where Howie Roseman was like the next one, and so I found that interesting. He did not really want to get into the coordinator search.
But there was an interesting moment in there.
The Patullo thing?
Yeah.
He said he values continuity, but then he like kind of pushed back on the idea that
he was asked a specific question about Kevin Patullo, and he had to stop himself in the middle of his answer. He was about to say, well, he's never been a coordinator before.
Yeah.
Like it was as if he was shooting down the idea because he's never done it before. And then he had to sort of reframe his answer like, well, I appreciate him for what he does, but like I can't speak to what he would be like as a coordinator.
But then he also spoke about it as if it's been determined. He's like, this is a different job for him. Or maybe he was just answering the question, like if Patullo was there.
My just reading it, watching him as he said it, take was like he does that would not be who he wants. But
I'd be curious who he would want, right? He
did say the thing that he would like in an ideal world to have somebody here for a while. But that may not be possible.
The only person there who would there will be 2 people who would bring continuity and would have play calling experience, and that would be Jason Michael and Doug Nussmeier, right? Doug Nussmeier was a college coordinator who called plays. Jason Michael was an offensive coordinator at the Titans. I got to see if he called plays. But Patullo is the next in line candidate. There's a piece up on PHLY.com where I go through some of the potential candidates. Patullo would be the next in line candidate, but I keep thinking that the continuity here is Jalen Hurts, and if there's ever been, this is clearly Jalen Hurts' offense. I also found it interesting in today's comments when he said the offense got better when he asserted himself more. Did you notice that today?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, he talked about how he had to learn to assert himself, and that's when things kind of steadied. So I do think this is going to be an offseason where Jalen is going to flex the muscle.
I think he's earned that.
Yeah.
Did you notice the Randall Cunningham hat behind him?
The Randall Cunningham hat. I did not notice the Randall Cunningham hat.
Yeah, he's back to scrambling.
Okay.
That was interesting given his performance in the Super Bowl when he did run a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah. So I think this is going to be. I do think Jalen's going to. I think he won. Obviously, he was the Super Bowl MVP.
News to him.
He played his best game, and I think Jalen's ready to flex his muscle even more in this organization.
What do you think that means, though? What do you think that amounts to? How does that manifest?
I think he's going to want say on the OC. I think he's going to want say in the play calling. I think he's going to want. I think, yeah. Yeah, I'm curious. He did use the expression today. That's out of my jurisdiction, or maybe he said it's been out of my jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think Jalen is properly emboldened.
Do you think that the Eagles will indulge him on that front? Do you think they will let him be as involved as he wants to be?
At the ownership level, yes.
But
well, I mean, I don't know how Howie's gonna, I think Howie's gonna GM the way he wants to GM, right? But part of Howie will tell you this. Part of his job is to listen to different constituencies, is to gather all the information, and it would behoove Howie to embolden Jalen in that regard. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't think Jalen's going to be meek, to say the least.
Are you surprised? Probably not, I would guess is the answer, but that he doesn't seem to be happier?
No, I think he is satisfied. I think he feels the sense of achievement.
Okay.
I think, and I asked him that question because I've been thinking about this answer for 3 days, where we go back to 2022. And I remember doing a story on the most unsatisfied, undefeated quarterback. And I asked him, I was like, Jalen, when will you ever be satisfied after a win?
I will never be satisfied.
I didn't sing it. I just asked him, when would you ever be satisfied after a win? And his answer was the last one, the last game. And he was referring, of course, to the Super Bowl. So I asked him about that. And that was the question where he answered about the pain of losing. But I think this is what makes Jalen, and I respect it. And I don't think I think that, whether he needs to, because what I'm curious to see is how does he operate when people don't doubt him, because he'll have to manufacture it. And that's like the Michael Jordan thing, right? But his entire being seems to be based on going through the fire, as he likes to say, right? But in order for you to go through that fire, there must be flames, and so he's going to have to keep those flames burning somehow. And I think this is how.
My sense is it'll be pretty easy for him to find motivation.
I think we're going to hear this quote, and it's actually, and credit to Greg Bishop. Greg Bishop from Sports Illustrated had it in his story, but
not to be confused with Greg Bisharp, the Stage 1 Pokemon.
I don't think anyone was confusing that when I said it. So Jalen's fiance wrote him a letter where he said, winning is beating the opponent, improving is beating yourself. Or it should say, I think it was winning is defeating the opponent, and improving is defeating yourself. And Jalen mentioned that quote today. He did not mention his fiance when he said it, but I think that's going to be something you'll hear this offseason, the constant search for improvement.
Mm-hmm. You strike me as a QB who's never been satisfied.
I don't know why you always break out in song.
I mean, why not? It's
By the way,
8:19.
You'd be proud.
Thursday night.
I'm seeing a play with music in it, so I suppose a musical. It has a comedy element to it. So I'm going to New York with my wife this weekend, and
very exciting.
Very exciting. And so there was a show that when it premiered, it had John Mulaney. I was a little disappointed to learn John Mulaney's not in it anymore, but it said Hank Azaria's in it now. So that's a fine consolation.
Is he doing Apu?
I haven't seen the show, but no, the show is called All In, a comedy of love, comedy about love. And I thought it was a play, but I think it said original music from such and such. So they probably
such and such is good.
Yeah, So they probably will break out in song, but I'm excited to see it because John Mulaney was in it originally, and Lorne Michaels is an executive producer, so you know it's gonna be funny.
You don't know that.
No,
but
I'm hopeful it's gonna be funny. But yeah, so I will be seeing that Saturday night. I will be on Monday's show and report back what I learned.
Super chat from main thing, who says, great coverage, team. Thank you very much. One stat on how locked in Big Game Jay was. In the first half, Jalen had 29 rushing yards prior to Mahomes' first successful scramble, which came with only 135 left in the first half.
Good stat. I know he had 52 rushing yards in that third quarter drive, but yeah, it's a good stat. Jalen was moving well. And now the top 2 Super Bowl rushing performances by a quarterback.
I mean, Jalen was responsible for more touchdowns in the first half than Patrick Mahomes had first downs.
Correct. Well, good stat too. So yeah, what were your takeaways from Jalen?
Frankly, the Patullo thing was the most interesting thing to me. What seemed to me like sort of thumbing his nose at the possibility of Kevin Patullo as offensive coordinator, but I could have been reading that wrong.
Yeah, I did find that to be curious.
Okay. The most interesting conversation I had was with Zack Baun, I thought. And he spoke for a while. I think we both were in separate scrums with Zack Baun at different times. But there are, you have done locker room day with a lot of impending free agents over the years. And there are guys who make it pretty clear that they're going to go where the highest bidder is. There are guys who frankly come across as a little bit like eager to return. And then there are, I would say the majority of guys are somewhere in the middle. Like, I'd love to be back if it's possible, but, I got to do what's best for my family. You can contrast Milton Williams, who I think notably was wearing his agency's sweatshirt today, not an Eagles sweatshirt. I thought that was right. And he mentioned wanting a raise, to Zack Baun, Zack Baun is going to get paid handsomely.
Yes.
But boy, to listen to him talk, he really wants to be back, it sounds like. And he was really introspective about like what this season has been like for him.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm really proud of myself. Like, I didn't know that I had this in me. And how could he? He had never played the position before. And he was also like, and as good as I was this year, I can't help but think about like, what will year 2 look like? When I'm even more comfortable in a defense, what would year 3 look like? And I asked him, like, do you have to fight yourself from wondering about the flip side? Do you wonder like, what would my career have been like if I had a chance to play in the middle a couple of years ago? And he said, I actually don't have to think about that because I don't think it would have turned out that way. Like, it may look like I wasn't doing much in New Orleans in those 4 years, but I was there like working my ass off.
Yeah.
And I think I'm better now because of what I went through then. He was also really just like impressed with everything that they did on defense this year. And like when the scrum ended, he and I were just going back and forth on like, I was giving him some of my favorite stats about like how good the defense has been and stuff like that. And he's like, is this the best Eagles defense you've seen? I was like, yeah, it's not even close, dude. Like by a million miles, it's one of the best defenses ever. And we were just talking about like how they never missed tackles. Everybody was so comfortable in their zones. He was very good about as he was on the Mik'd up, the Cooper DeJean pick 6, like just what a veteran ass play it was, as he said. And he was just like, it was a little bit in contrast to Jalen in just that, like, this was a person who I think appreciated the magnitude of the journey and was really soaking up everything that he had accomplished. And like, you talk about who had the biggest fairy tale of a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Zack Baun. He signs as an afterthought. He becomes a middle linebacker, like starting middle linebacker. He's an all-pro. He's getting Defensive Player of the Year votes. He gets to win the Super Bowl in the city where he left. Like, and he seemed to have full appreciation for it. I really enjoyed my conversation with Zack Baun today, and it it did make it seem to me like he will. I don't know what the offers will be like. We've talked about it. I think the Eagles will be willing to go over market value for him. I think he might be willing to give up a couple $1 million to return to the Eagles. I don't know. That was the sense that I got.
So so as you said, we spoke at different times, and the time I spoke to him, I got very little read on how he felt about free agency. I did get a lot of the introspective nature about how he found the love of football again, and he spoke about that, and I got exposed to that. But when I asked him specifically about free agency, he's like, I haven't thought about it. Like, we just won the Super Bowl. The parade's tomorrow. We have a lot to think about. And he was asked the question, like, how do you weigh money versus fit and scheme? And he's like, you bring up good points. Like, I have a lot to think about, right? So I kind of got the impression that, like, he understands that there's a big decision ahead of him. I didn't get the impression that he was going to leave money on the table. I did get the impression that he wants to return to Philadelphia, but as we've discussed, this is an opportunity for him, and it's probably his only opportunity to really strike for a huge payday. And we were talking off air the other day. The way I think that I think the Eagles value him. I do think the Eagles are going to try to keep him. I think the Eagles will go beyond what they've gone for linebackers in the past, which seems like an obvious statement. But I think they would give him near top of the market deal. But I think they're going to have a walkaway number, and I think they'll try their darndest to sign him before he hits the open market, similar to what they did with PHLY's Vinny Curry back in 2016. Vinny didn't hit the open market. Vinny was about to hit it, and the Eagles signed him before he went on the markets. They did the same thing with Sam Bradford. They signed him before he. Now, what happens in those cases, to tell the audience, is you're not officially allowed to talk numbers at the combine with other teams. But typically, agents go to the combine, and all agents go to the combine, and they get a sense.
Yeah, whether they're allowed to or not, they're doing it.
Yeah. Well, no, they get a sense of what the player's market is, right? Like, in theory, Team X might be interested in him at this price. There's not like maybe a formal contract offer, but you know who's interested in what range, right? And so
that is a very generous reading of what happens.
Yeah.
They are absolutely talking about specific contract terms.
I get it. I get it. I was trying to kind of talk my way around this. Okay. But point being, so my guess is at the combine, he'll get a sense of what that market is. The Eagles will get a sense of like what that market is. And I think the Eagles will try to sign him to a lucrative deal right before he hits free agency. Because once you hit the open market, that's when it gets hard. And that's when it happens quickly. You don't necessarily have the chance to match sometimes. You have to get on to plan B or plan C or plan D. So I think they're going to try their best, but I do think they're going to have a walkaway number, and I don't think they go beyond that walkaway number. And I see up here on the screen, 3 years, $14 million, $30 million guaranteed. I think go north, man. I mean, Tremaine Edmonds was, if you look at the top 5 linebackers, Tremaine Edmonds was the top 5 paid linebackers. Tremaine Edmonds was the only one who hit free agency, and he got $18 million. I mean, Roquan Smith got $20 million. It would surprise me if he's not in that range. I know he had 1 year, but he was also a defensive player of the year candidate.
Yeah. He also told a very interesting story of he's been wearing a medallion around his neck during the playoffs. And this came about after Bill Bergey, the Hall of Fame Eagles Hall of Fame linebacker, passed away on Christmas this year. And as Zack Baun told it, Howie Roseman reached out to the Bergey family and asked if they had anything that they could, have in the building to sort of remember Bergey by. And they sent along this medallion. And one day in the linebacker meeting room, Howie showed up and gave it to Zack Baun and explained the meaning behind it. And he said, I'd love, it would be great if you have this. And so Zack Baun wore it throughout the playoffs. And then now that the season is over, they're gonna give it back to the Berge family. But Zack Baun was very touched by that he was given that responsibility. So I thought that was a lovely little story.
That's a beautiful story, and it shows. I mean, first off, it says a lot about Zack Baun. It says a lot about Howie Roseman. That's a neat story. I'm glad you shared that.
You think that was Howie trying to get like, hey Zach, remember all those things we did for the Berges? Like, you got to come back.
No, I think
I know, of course not. Of course not.
Yeah, I think Howie's aware of the history of the franchise, and
for sure.
Yeah. Interestingly, Bill Berge's in the, I'm butchering the name, the Chappaqua Hall of Fame. It's a county where Nick Sirianni's from. CHAP. I'm sorry for the pronunciation.
Chap.
No, Aquita, like Chappaquidda, something like that.
Chappaquiddick?
No, this is in Western New York.
Oh,
anyways, Nick Sirianni's being inducted into that Hall of Fame on Monday night.
Oh.
Yeah. And the two other people with Eagles ties are Bill Berge, who's from that area, and Jim McCusker, who was on the 1960 championship team.
Super chat, very generous super chat from Kirk, who says, thanks for the great content and all the hard work this last season. Must be talking just to you, Zach. Can't wait for all of the great PHLY offseason content. Thank you very much, Kirk.
Kirk. First off, Bo's produced outstanding work this year as well.
No. Even then, produced outstanding work. Not a word about how hard I've been working.
Bo has produced hard work as well. But yeah, so I appreciate the sentiment more where you're talking about the offseason content. I really think where we shine is with our offseason content. Having Fran.
Yes, of course. We know that because you have already famously said that we didn't do any worthwhile episodes during the course of the regular season.
I'm not saying. I think that I think your understanding of the NFL comes through in how you discuss roster building and free agency and the draft. I mean, it is a different discipline sometimes than dissecting games. And I think our shows are particularly adept during the offseason and now and analyzing free agency, the draft, the moves that the Eagles are making. And then we have the best draft analysts in the business now, right? And so last year, no, we have Fran. I'm so excited for Fran. Last year, I thought our draft stuff was really good. What we lacked probably was the draft authority, right? We were talking about everything from the Eagles' perspective. No, it was from the Eagles' perspective.
You cannot just stop throwing shade at somebody else as you keep going.
Who am I throwing shade at there?
Everybody.
Who am I throwing shade at there? First off, I'm complimenting Fran. And no, we're looking at
personally, I think all of our shows are good.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't think all our shows are good. I think that some of our shows are better than others. And I think I think we can and will be better. And I think the offseason will do great.
All right. Let's take a quick break. Hear from our sponsors who support the show even when Zach doesn't think it's good. We start, I believe, with our friends at Bet365. Do I have that correctly?
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do. Bet365, you know all about it. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365 live streams over 780,000 events each year with over 90 million users worldwide. They pioneered live in-game betting, and today they offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. If you watched the Super Bowl kickoff show, you noticed that Bo Wulf went 3 for 3 on his picks. Saquon receiving yards over, bang. Kareem Hunt rushing yards under, bang. Eagles to win, triple bang. Hope you parlayed all those bad boys and reined in the cash. Now it's on to basketball season. They've got all kinds of deals like Slam Dunk Saturday. Place qualifying parlay bets totaling $20 or more on Saturday NBA games and get up to $25 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. Download the app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. They've also got a 100% parlay boost NBA tip-off Tuesdays, all kinds of good stuff to keep you humming along. Breaking news from Bet365. There's a good deal to open an account from now through February 26th. New customers can get $100 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $100 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Bo, when you went to work today, what did you bring?
Dead ass.
Excuse me?
Knowledge.
Okay, well, that's a good answer. At Ace Hardware Home Services, whenever they get ready for the next job, they know what to bring. They bring experience. They're local plumbers and techs that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. They bring understanding. They listen to your goals, and the job is not completed until you're satisfied. They bring helpful to your home, so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices to get you started on your next project.
Another super chat I believe we have from Chase Daniel Plainview, who says, "Oh, Bo, great job on the NFL Daily. The details you provided Greg on the after party was something I couldn't find anywhere else. Goodell must be so happy." Thank you, CDP. And that means you didn't read my story on allphly.com, so you're telling on yourself a little bit there. But the thing that Goodell is not going to be happy about, and I did forget to tell this to Greg on there, I mean, I am going to have to sue the NFL and Roger Goodell specifically for, the burned ear from the post-game locker room that, it's still hurting, that burned ear. The cigar fire right in there. I think I'm gonna have to sell for, what do you think? What do you think is fair, Zach? $3 billion?
I'll leave that up to you.
Right, well, Roger, just prepare to get served, my friend.
He's another guy from that county that I mentioned. Although
I thought that's who you're gonna say. Yeah.
No. So I gotta say, great appearance.
Slam dunk case, says Remo. I agree.
Yeah, great appearance on the NFL Daily. Although when you're
it wasn't my best audio quality. That was the problem I felt.
But when you're on NFL Daily or you're on the Philly Special or these other shows that I don't get invited to, I always feel, I kind of feel like probably how
that's the show you want to be on.
No, let's say like Daniel Jones or Dexter Lawrence or whoever it is must feel watching Saquon. It's like why not get this version? Right? I mean, that's what I feel. You're an all-pro on those other shows, and then you're just.
And what am I here?
Picking on me. Yeah, it's like your job on those shows is to inform and entertain, and on this show it's to
inform and entertain.
Yeah, bully and harass. Yeah. So.
No, I don't agree with that.
But yeah, you did great.
Well, that's very nice of you. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. We've done Jalen Hurts. We've done Zack Baun. I think those were all my Zack Baun thoughts. So it's over to you for the next one.
Yeah, let's talk Milton Williams.
Good to see Puragu again. I haven't seen Puragu in the comments in a while.
Best host in the city. Absolutely. Agreed.
Puragu?
No, Bo Wulf. Milton Williams is leaving. And there's nothing wrong with it. Good for Milt, man. He absolutely earned it. He waited his turn. He did everything asked of him. He had a big year. He had a big game on the biggest stage. Milton Williams on what's important in free agency. Just being in the right situation, valuing what I bring to the table. Obviously a raise. I want to win. I like this feeling of winning and being on top of the world. So I definitely wanted to get into a situation as close as this as possible. He was asked, I even asked him, we've spoken to you for 4 years about waiting your turn, right? And do you want to go to a place where you're the top guy? He'll never be the top guy here, right? That's Jalen Carter. We know that's going to be the case, right? He said, I feel like I definitely got the talent and the leadership skills to be able to do it. wherever I end up, if it's here or wherever, get guys to buy into the togetherness and not being selfish. Now, I've seen a lot of people read into what you referenced, that he was wearing his agency's sweatshirt. Perhaps that was intentional. Perhaps it was just the top thing on the pile. I mean, I always enjoy talking to Milton. I don't take him to be like a fashion connoisseur. So no,
Yikes.
no, I think Milt values comfort. I don't think that, like, when I see Milt.
Wow, what a great job by Julia there. As you say, Milton is not a fashion connoisseur. Yes. Julia pops up the merch that we've got at the All-City store, store.allcitynetwork.com. Dress better than Milton Williams.
No, Milton Williams, I've said this. I've been saying it all year. I said it last week. He's going to get paid with capital P, capital A, capital I, capital D. He is the fans in Kalamazoo and Des Moines and Peoria, Illinois. I saw that in the YouTube chat. Peoria wants some love.
Peoria.
Is it Peoria?
No, it's Peoria.
Yeah, Peoria. That's what I said.
You were saying Peoria.
I said
you were getting rid of the last I.
All right, Peoria, Illinois.
There you go.
Fans in Peoria, Illinois. I saw that in the YouTube comments. I read every single YouTube comment that you post. We do need to update the Apple podcast comments and try to get some more like 5-star ones in there. I do take everything. I take everything to heart, but I would like to kind of the people who have commentary on the show. I hear you. Let's kind of get more feedback there, but nonetheless,
what are you talking about?
What? There's some dissatisfied customers in the Apple podcast.
Great, they can eat my ass.
Okay. I hope they keep watching the show. But anyways, in Peoria, Illinois, they're going to be surprised by how much Milton Williams gets paid.
I actually push back on this. I don't think that. I think Milton Williams has become enough of a household name now that people are expecting him to get a lot of money.
Maybe among like football stat heads, but or I shouldn't say stat heads. That's not nice. Like people who are monitoring free agency lists, yes. But I'll put it this way: it's probably comparable to Bryce Huff last year, right? Like Bryce Huff was the type of player who.
Yeah, but Milton does have a better track record. You're right.
Yeah, but people are like, "Wow, Bryce Huff got $17 million."
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what it's going to be like for Milton Williams this year.
We will have plenty of time to unpack this, but presuming that Milton Williams leaves, which we have reported on the show that he is gone. Do you think the Eagles will be eager to backfill a defensive tackle in free agency, or do you think they will be okay approaching it in the draft, seeing what happens, and then, if need be, there's a Mekhi Becton type defensive tackle after the draft that they can fill?
Well, I know for a fact they like their depth at that spot. Ujima and
they're ready for Ujima to take a step up. Maybe finally they will let Jordan Davis play 20 snaps a game.
Booker's is someone who has really developed under their watch. And this is and look, I don't want to speak for Fran here. We're so lucky to have Fran at the network, but this is a loaded D-line draft class this year.
Fran has a great note today. If you go to allphly.com and check out his reactions to all the combine invites, and Fran, because he is a true deranged sicko, keeps the stats on how many players at each position are invited to the combine every year, how many players at each position are drafted every single year. And the number that is a blaring, holy crap number is the defensive tackles who were invited to the combine this year. There are 40 defensive tackles there. The 5-year average is 25 or 26. It's a crazy number. And so that speaks to the depth of the defensive tackle class.
Yeah. If you recall, last year was a bad defensive tackle class. Johnny Newton was a second-round pick and was arguably the top defensive tackle. Right, this year there's going to be multiple D tackles drafted in the top 15. There's going to be it's probably comparable to that 2019, if memories 2019, the Dillard year when there was Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins, and all those D tackles that went high that year. Like I think it will be it's probably comparable to that. This is a particularly deep D tackle class.
And the flip side to that, based on those numbers, is relatively light offensive line, which is interesting as you just think about what the Eagles will do moving forward this year if they let Mik'd go, which is a nice tease. I don't know. Did you talk to Mik'd, Zach?
I did for a bit.
We'll hear about that just after this word from our sponsors. Milton Williams, the fans in Toledo and Columbus, Ohio, they're going to be surprised by all the golden nuggets that Milton Williams gets this offseason. For the past 30 years, Golden Nugget Jewelers has operated out of the very same location in the heart of Philadelphia. Customers from across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and even Baltimore and New York City have come to Golden Nugget Jewelers to find that perfect engagement ring or wedding band. Their staff is highly trained and dedicated to providing a personalized shopping experience. And if you have dropped the ball on Valentine's Day and you're trying to sneak a little something in tomorrow, well, where better to go than Golden Nugget Jewelers? A vast selection of engagement rings and wedding bands, along with high-end watches, fashion jewelry, and sparkling diamond necklaces, bracelets, earrings, and more. Receive a final cleaning and written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase. Golden Nugget Jewelers has been a family-owned and operated business since 1987, right there on 8th and Chestnut in downtown Philly. You deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Visit visit goldennuggetjewelry.com to get started and learn more.
I was watching the John Mark show, and I kept thinking, this guy's got a great head of hair. And I know the place he gets that great head of hair is with Dr. Glatt and the Morgan Stern Center for Orbital and Facial Plastic Surgery. And they recently welcomed Dr. Glatt and the Glatt Group to their practice. So what makes them better? Well, they have the same peerless approach, the same expert team, the same unmatched Glatt system, the same state-of-the-art location, the same stellar results, and under the direction of Dr. Morgan Stern, a highly respected plastic surgeon. Each member of this exceptionally trained team brings 30-plus years of industry experience. Hair restoration is all that they do. Each patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best course of action. So you're getting treatment, or the best course of treatment, rather. You're getting treatment that is that really fits you and your hair needs. Glatt hair isn't just about restoration. It's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments really do dramatically change lives. Change your hair, change your life. Bald, it's optional. If you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glatt hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit GlattHairMCTR.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started.
All right, I will go next. I will save Becton for you. You may have talked to him as well. James Bradberry.
Yes, I did speak to James Bradberry.
I got to talk to James Bradberry. Now he was an interesting presence in the post-game locker room on Super Bowl night, just sort of standing in his locker, seemed to be enjoying everything going on. Now James Bradberry is always a very good interview in the sense that he's always very honest and very direct. But you have to ask a direct question. Yeah. And I didn't ask the right direct question. But so I had a brief moment. I had a couple minutes alone with James Bradberry before he spoke to everybody. And the sense that I got was that he was ready to play this year. And I was like, first of all, what was this season like for you? And he says, it was kind of weird. And I said, were you, did you want to play? Did you have the same satisfaction at the end? He said, I was here to do whatever they wanted me to. And that was sort of the common refrain. And then I asked him, do you want to play safety or corner? He said, well, I think I'd like to play corner. Safety was just for the summer. I would like to put my hand in the ring at corner after the season. But Brooks Cabina, from The Athletic, said that Bradberry told him he tore his Achilles this year, which was a surprise to me. and was not the impression I got from him. But it also could have been, it could have been a partial tear. It could have been something else. But he didn't make it sound like, his career is over or anything like that.
Yeah, when I saw that report from Brooks, I was surprised because I kind of got the same impression. Now, I didn't ask him specifically what the injury was, but the way he was kind of talking to me made it sound like, it was their choice not to bring him back, and he was
that's how I felt as well.
Yeah, so I found that to be interesting. I asked James a question that was on my mind in the locker room after the game, and actually when I put this out on social media, I guess people didn't like the line of questioning. They thought it was like an insulting question to ask. And they actually didn't. I don't know if they heard the phrasing of the question, but I basically said, like, you were there celebrating. Like I saw you that. Do you feel like the same satisfaction of winning the Super Bowl? Right, which I think is very. I've heard.
Of course, that's a reasonable
people question. On IR who and you hear like NBA play. I remember Jeff Teague, like watching a Jeff Teague.
Go Deeks.
Yeah, go Deeks. Jeff Teague talking about like after the finals, he was just like out in like 5 minutes because he didn't feel a part of it.
What a just brutal loss for Wake Forest last night. Just a disaster.
But Bradberry said, "I'm going to get a ring. I can always say I'm a Super Bowl champion. I'm a part of it." And he said he did everything that they asked him to do behind the scenes. He called Philadelphia the best, the best place to play, or the best sports fans in the world. He said he experienced both sides of it, right? And
you would have to think, especially for him, the way that the Super Bowl ended 2 years ago, like for the team to have gotten retribution, but for him to not have gotten to play an active role in it, like that, those must be very conflicting feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. He's grateful for his time in Philadelphia, and then he and I were talking. I want his perspective on what we were discussing with Shield, and he was actually pretty insightful. What's that?
Bidets?
No, not bidets. He was insightful about the fact that he's in a job where the money's very public, right? And that, like, one can look at him and say, "You're so well compensated, like you have nothing to feel bad about," right? And he like, to a degree, he understands that he's very fortunate, and he said he got a big contract with the Giants, and then he came here and he had success, but he's like he's really prideful. Like he wants to be really good at his craft, and he said he still feels like he can. And so there's this part of him that is just so determined to show that he can still play football and that he can still be good at this. And it's interesting because sometimes, and look, I'm guilty like you, these are guys wearing lingerie, and they're dollar figures on like overthecap.com, right? And it's like, if you cut them here, you save this, and like James Bradberry, I don't want to say we'll do anything. Like, I can't. He just wants to show that he can still play football at a high level. And I know it's easier to do that when it's easier to have that feeling when you've already made X amount of dollars. Like, I'm not naive to that, but my conversations with him today, I don't want to say validated what I said, but it kind of buttressed what I said, that like, to him, what's ahead here is really showing that he's not washed, and like, the paycheck doesn't make the pride like, it doesn't make him it any easier to swallow his pride. He did say that he had to kind of learn or he had to lean on being a businessman this year, like the business side of football. That's how he kind of rationalized why he wasn't out there, and that's why I kind of got the impression that he felt he could play, but he obviously felt that the reason he was still on the team is because they were paying him no matter what, so they weren't just going to let him go. But yeah, he did say he made the team as a safety, but he thinks he can play both. Yeah,
I mean, the degree to which you and I root for players, I will be rooting for James Bradberry to have a comeback season next year, to get a chance to play cornerback somewhere and prove himself. I think that would be a wonderful story.
Yeah, well said.
And I've really enjoyed covering him over the past couple of years. He's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
All right, over to you.
So I guess I will talk about Mekhi Becton for a bit here.
Okay.
Because you didn't talk about him, and we should talk about him here as a pending free agent. He said that he prefers playing guard. He said it's easier to play guard. He said if it goes up to him. He kind of didn't want to get into what awaits beyond this year. He spoke a lot about how much he appreciated, he appreciates Philadelphia, and like how Jeff Stoutland changed his career, and like what this year and these teammates have meant for him, and how he did take the guard. He said he likes kind of just having that space. You're not over on an island, like you block this space in front of you here. I imagine we've all seen that clip, or a lot of us have seen that clip of him like crying after the game, the NFL Films clip, and he said he was overcome with emotion because he thought of like everything he's endured, not just in the NFL, but like in his life to get to that point. And his hometown of Richmond, Virginia, is throwing a parade for him next week, so he's actually going to do 2 parades. But my observation of Mekhi this year, and I've said this, is that he's really like fit in with the group. I mean, you saw him at the Jimmy Fallon show. You saw him at the Kelsey music video, right? The Christmas album. Mekhi Becton's like really enjoyed being a part of the Eagles. So you and I have talked about this off the air. I don't think the Eagles, I think the Eagles would like Mekhi Becton back. I think they've really liked him. He's a good fit. I don't know if they view him as like $8 million better than Tyler Steen, and that's a calculation they're going to have to make, because the judgment here is not just what's Mekhi Becton worth, but what's Mekhi Becton worth relative to his backup and in consideration of the cap space that you do have. But I know Mekhi Becton really enjoys playing for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where this one goes. I would still be pretty surprised if he returns.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. But he may really want to come back. So well, I will see how this one plays out.
I mean, and Jordan Mailata was vouching to pay this guy, right? So something. I know his team.
We will. I think next Tuesday we're gonna have Fran in. We're gonna do Flu World Order, which, if you're new, is all the impending Eagles free agents and potential cap cuts, potential traded players. We're gonna rank them in order of how likely we think they are to be back. We will fully unpack the Becton thing. They're gonna extend Juergens this offseason. I don't think you're going to pay 5 guys on the line at the top of the market, and I don't think they view Becton as like you framed it, $8 million better than Steen.
Because I do think Becton's going to be a $10 million a year player on the open market.
Yeah, and given the relative constraints, I don't think that's where they're going to spend their money.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll give you 2 quick other offensive linemen.
Sure. Here,
Lane Johnson. Who has been really thoughtful all season long, I think, and very available all season long. I talked to him a little bit in the post-game locker room as well, but he was just talking about some of the extra motivation he had this year. I mean, he understands that 2 Super Bowls now makes him, very likely to be in the Hall of Fame, and he's going to continue playing at a high level, presumably. He's very aware of that. He acknowledged, he as you told us about, Zach, he had that thing posted next to his locker after the All Pros. He acknowledged that he was pretty pissed off about that, and that was extra motivation for him. And if you're just hearing that as Penny Sewell was the first team All Pro right tackle over Lane, despite the numbers saying basically that Lane is on an island much more often, gets much less help. gave up fewer sacks, fewer penalties. Like, Sewell is awesome too, but like Lane was better probably. And that helped was extra motivation for him. And then just his perspective on Jalen and like just how cool and calm he is during the game. I think at the end of this, Zach, we can talk about our own. I know that Jamie and Rich talked about the Mik'd up from last night on today's show. I had a couple notes as well, but one of my favorite things was after the Jalen touchdown to Devontae, Lane just like comes over and shakes his hand and then leaves, like just walks away. Like, very funny.
I spoke about that handshake.
Did you? So did I. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
What'd you say?
He's like, everyone else has these like extravagant handshakes, so it's their way of. He's like, the old-fashioned handshakes going out of style.
Very good.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
And then the other person I wanted to talk to, Lane or Zach, Darian Kennard.
Oh, yeah.
Darian Kennard has never, in his entire NFL career, he's been in the league 3 years, he has never not won the Super Bowl.
Seriously. Yep.
He was with the Chiefs for 2 years, and then the Eagles this year. He's the three-peater. And so, I'm like, sort of jokingly, like if you were a free agent, which he is not, like you'd be like a $20 million player. Teams would be signing you just for the good luck.
Yeah.
And so I was asking some of the other offensive linemen about that. Like, do they tease him about it? And Kennard, he said that this one felt like he was a little bit more of a part of it. Sure. Although he was on the active roster that first year with the Chiefs. But this one, he's happy. He's like, I don't know. And then Landon and Cam Jurgens was like, oh yeah, that's not going to last. I was like, do you think Kennard's ever going to not win the Super Bowl? He's like, oh yeah, for sure.
He took it very literally. Yes. Yeah. That is good. Yeah. I enjoyed, I did not talk to Kennard. I saw you talking to him. Nice guy to talk to. I caught up with Lane as well. We were joking about or laughing about, I don't know if you guys saw, if you follow part of my take, Big Cat had Lane Johnson on, and it was talking about how he'd been messaging this number for like 2 years, and the person kept saying like, I'm not Lane Johnson, right? And so and I've actually had the same thing too.
Yes, I have like 4 different numbers for Lane on my phone.
Yeah, so I was joking about it, and Lane was I don't think he was laughing just to indulge me. Like, I was showing him the text, and he was like, that poor person, because I don't know why this is not coming up here. Basically, there's this person who every time I texted this number, I get the same message, because I guess I forget to take it out of my phone.
I know. I got to do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it says like, this is not Lane's number. Please do not contact this number again. Yeah, that's what the message says. And so I've gotten it like 3 times, and I got to imagine him like, look, I'm not like texting Lane Johnson as much as other people are texting.
That
Lane
is so
Johnson,
funny,
right? So I got to think that this person is just has this on copy and paste and just responds to everybody. And I thought this was just me, but when Big Cat brought that up and posted it, I was like, all right, this happens to other people too.
That's very funny.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty funny.
Talked to Nakobe Dean.
Yes.
Who was very very proud of the season that he had until getting injured, and also what everybody did after the fact. He said like he would get much more nervous watching a game in the playoffs when he wasn't playing than he did like if he's playing in it. And he said that he would not give a specific timetable for his expected return, but he's rehabbing this week. The only day he's taking off is Friday for the parade. He said he and Nolan Smith and Jordan Davis and a couple other guys were supposed to go on a trip to Europe, like a 2-week trip to Europe together, that he had to cancel because he needs to be rehabbing. He's gonna, and then unfortunately, this is the second off season in a row that's gonna be like this for him, where he has no time off because he's gonna be rehabbing. And I think that this is a major question for the Eagles moving forward as to what degree can they count on Nakobe Dean. But as I said when we talked about it a month or so ago, like psychologically, he strikes me as like the person in the locker room best suited to handle everything that is ahead for him. He just has such a good head on his shoulders.
Sure, well said. And he's going to be rehabbing in a different location than in the past. In the past, he stayed in Philadelphia. This year, he's going elsewhere, so it will be a bit different. And he said to me, he's going to be back for the season. Now we'll see, but that's what he said when I asked him about the timeline.
Okay, over to you.
Isaiah Rodgers. The first
Julia,
one,
we don't have to do fast because this is a bonus show. Is that right? I think so.
Nonetheless, thanks for watching on Fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isaiah Rodgers, the first one on the team to get the tattoo from the Super Bowl. And I thought it was clever. He called it his champ stamp. It's a clever framing.
That's good. Do you know what that's a playoff of, Zach?
Yes, I have seen Wedding Crashers. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm familiar with that. So I laughed when he said that, and it was not the manufactured sports reporter laugh, like how sports reporters laugh at things that aren't funny, but they act like they're funny. No, he genuinely had me laughing when he said champ stamp. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's it.
I mean, I can keep going. I was doing some quick hitters here.
I'm about out with mine. How about you? Do you have any other leftovers?
I spoke to J.Alex Hunt. J.Alex Hunt had pretty cool perspective, I thought, pretty touching perspective earlier this year when he was talking about how he never had like full-time equipment managers before. So having someone, do you remember that when he was at Houston Christian? And I was like, has that stunk into you yet, or do you still like have to remind yourself that, man, I'm in the NFL? And he's like, it feels like his day job. Like that part has settled in. Like he's not like, oh my God, I'm here, but he has little things that keep coming up that like allow him to keep the perspective. An example is he was holding his helmet, and he's like, I get to bring my helmet home. He's like, how cool is that? I never got to keep a helmet before, and like you think about it like that, and that's pretty cool. He was talking about the rookie class and how he never viewed this to be a redshirt year, and so he expected to have the year he had. I mean, he's, as we discussed in the player development conversation, he's really come on. He's received a bunch of DMs from Eagles fans asking what kind of beer he wants to be thrown at him at the parade. So he's pretty excited, and I think I'm combining a few different people. People are eager to hear CJ Gardner-Johnson tomorrow. I don't know what CJ has planned, but CJ's the guy who people like, who the players think can become like a parade star. So I don't know if CJ's been talking about this, but he's got something he's ready to say.
Okay, I look forward to that. Hey Zach, how come Howie Roseman didn't talk today?
How come Howie Roseman didn't talk today?
Yeah, doesn't he usually talk at the end of the season?
Yeah,
him and the head coach.
Yeah, Howie and Nick typically talk at the end of the season. They did not talk today
because of the snow on Wednesday.
They say they're going to talk. The combine's pretty close. They're going to talk in 2 weeks, and they spoke during Super Bowl week quite a bit. I would have really liked to hear, candidly, if I'm being honest, Nick and Howie today. I think it'd be a good way to put a bow on the season and kind of turn to the off season. And
would have been a pretty fluffy press conference, I imagine.
Yeah, I don't think they would have had the. I mean, compared to last year, no one would ask Nick what he's doing. I mean, I think this is. I think this one would have been a little.
I think that's a little bit weak.
I would have liked to hear them. I would have liked to hear them. Look, and I've been clear about.
Just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably their thought too. Is like they just want the Super Bowl. They don't need to.
The way that this is how he celebrates. He's not bothered about the parade. He just wants to make sure that this means he gets to get out of a press conference.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is they had a lot of exit meetings today, but they have exit meetings every year. Look, I would have liked to hear from them. They were probably like, we don't need to placate, reporters here. They've built equity with the fans, but I certainly would have liked to hear from Howie today.
Yeah.
And Nick.
Are you doing anything else?
Yeah, I saw you speaking to Cooper DeJean, weren't you? I
was.
Okay.
I
didn't really go over there much because
he went over the pick six,
okay.
which was a great play, and he appreciated Zack Baun's comment to him on the sideline about it being a veteran ass play. I asked him if he could think of his second best birthday. He laughed but didn't have an answer for that. Yeah. I mean, he had a great year. He said he hasn't really sat down to reflect on everything that has happened over the course of the past year because he suffered an injury at the end of his career at Iowa, which hampered him through the draft process, and then he suffered an injury in the summer, and so like it wasn't all flowers. And then once he got on the field, everything obviously went very well.
Absolutely. Okay. Well said.
Okay. What did you think of the Mik'd Up, Zach?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I always enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I
mean, I'm a huge proponent of Mik'd Up segments because it gives such rich color, and I like real and raw like emotion and reaction, and that's what you get relative to sound bites. And frankly, it helps if you're trying to weave a narrative together of like the team. That kind of stuff certainly helps. So I enjoyed it. I guess my favorite part of it was probably Nick like calling game. I like that. I like the Jordan Mailata interaction. I like when Jalen says, "I know,"
That was very funny.
When Jordan's like, "You're you're awesome. You're the man." Jalen's like, "I know,"
Very funny.
With such a Jalen response to it. Yeah. What about you?
Here are my quick notes from my notes app. I mean, the moment with Sirianni's son before the game was awesome.
Yeah.
Like really sweet. Little dusty. Very funny in retrospect. Like how the pomposity of the Chiefs pregame, like how feckless that turned out to be. That was very funny. Sirianni counting the sacks was very funny. From like somebody was joking, "Oh, now we know what he does on game day is he counts the sacks." But to that point, I thought the interactions both with Kellen Moore before the touchdown pass to Devontae Smith, and then later when he's like just no negative plays was a very good indication of like the degree to which he is involved in game planning or in game calling. Right? He's not calling the plays, but he is dictating the terms of like the constraints of the plays that can be called, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, well said. You're absolutely right. That's a good way of framing it. Like he's very in tune with the game plan and the pace of the game, the flow of the game.
And if you want to go back to his menu metaphor, it's like he's like, okay, order me a salad. But so you go to the menu of salad choices, you pick what it's going to be, but it's got to be a salad here. I also thought that like just don't lose yards is a good indication of just the way that he thinks about the game. I mean, the Baun, the veteran ass play thing was very cool, and also from like he's double checking that's what he did. He's like, you saw that I was going to the flat, and so you dropped off, and he's like, yeah, he's like, that's awesome. That was great. Extremely funny that of all the people to get the defense to take a deep breath, 1, 2, 3. It's CJ Gardner-Johnson. Like he's the one who's like, all right, let's level, guys. Like that's very funny. The Baun comment about the interception is like I dropped it in practice, but caught that bitch in a game. That was funny. Chris Jones, they're down 24-0. Is like, yeah, we might have to dig a little deeper than I thought. That was very funny. I had forgotten this play, and it was good to see it. I had forgotten that, and this speaks to like what are they going to do at linebacker. I had forgotten that Oren Burks had laid that hard hit on Mahomes in the open field that forced a fumble that was then called back for holding. So just like Oren Burks continued to make plays even in the Super Bowl and was not a liability as some people thought.
Can I ask you real quick because we have our friends at Con Murphy's.
Let's these are my big takeaways.
Okay,
these are my big takeaways presented by the good folks at Con Murphy's, our dear friends. These are our big takeaways from that Mik'd Up segment. I thought it was very cool that Baun was like aware of. He's looking at the screen, and he's like, "We blitz rate 0%, pressure rate 38%." Like he's aware of those things.
Yeah.
That was interesting, and it was why I knew that like today we could talk on a numbers level. That was kind of fun.
He's one of us, you're saying, right?
Yeah. He also said, by the way, he said because I think Dickerson was wearing the bald eagle shirt. Like they made shirts like Zack Baun bald eagle, and Baun said those were his idea. Like he had been getting so many DMs from Eagles fans calling him the bald eagle that he went to Dom and had those shirts made, which is kind of funny. Let's see what else I got. The Milton celebration after his sack, the belt to ass thing, that was very cool. And then everybody saying, "Pay that man, pay that man." Obviously, the Jalen Hurts, the last one, changed my soul. Was worth noting. By the way, did you notice the former Eagle standing there on the Chiefs sideline? The flip side to the Darian Kennard trade.
Remind me.
Marlon Tuipulotu. Poor guy. He spends all summer with the Eagles.
Yeah.
And then he's got to watch them win in the Super Bowl. Brutal.
It struck me, if I can jump in too, is like I've kept hearing players talk about the type of leader that Saquon Barkley is.
I've been building up the whole time to that being the last thing.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, go on. Okay, keep going. Yes, sorry.
That is where I'm landing the plane.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought we were having a conversation. Okay, go on.
I liked the when it's over, Sirianni and Michael Clay, I thought had a very nice moment. That was very cool. And then yes, I thought Saquon was their star of the show, right? You could tell. And the patrolling the sideline, like let's stay here, like no, don't get too high, like that was interesting. But the most interesting thing to me was that both Sirianni and Jalen Hurts said to him separately, like, you were the last piece. You changed the team when you got here. Like we were what we were. When you got here, we became something different.
Yeah.
And I did ask some guys about that in the locker room today, and they said, like, you see on the field, like what he does, but like his presence did add a little bit of a different dynamic. And you would imagine in the wake of the way that last season ended, they needed something like that got everybody excited, if that makes sense. And I mean, more than anyone could have possibly imagined, boy, did he deliver.
Yeah. And I'm really from like a leadership perspective, and I read a lot about leadership and from like a human's dynamics perspective. I find that so interesting because it's almost human nature when you change places to try to fit in rather than stand out, right? And I think it can be hard sometimes. Like, he's not wearing a C on his chest here, right? And he's coming to a team with an established culture. And it would be easy not to speak up. It would be easy to try to blend in and don't ruffle feathers and don't be the high-priced guy who comes in from a losing team and says, like, you know what to do. And I know behind the scenes, like AJ Brown's talked about this kinship that he's developed with Saquon Barkley, and Saquon is unafraid to speak up. And Saquon's been with the way he's brought the offensive linemen together. And I heard this anecdote that the reason why the O linemen were on the Jimmy Fallon show or the Tonight Show rather, is because Saquon, he required them to be there. And like, Saquon's really ingratiated himself with the team. And that was so apparent. Like, on the biggest stage, he was the guy speaking, and not just that, but they were listening, right? It wasn't like, oh, Saquon, like they were listening. And Saquon, I don't want to say he's like too good to be true, but there is not an area where he has been deficient. Like, performance, he's been outstanding. Off the field, he's been outstanding. Like, as a worker, I know in like communication with staffers, in the locker room, like everyone, it's like, this guy's, I think early on it was like, is this guy real? Like, is anyone like this? I don't want to say this perfect. That's not the way I would frame it, but he's just been such an ideal fit for Philly. And you really saw that in the Mik'd up.
No doubt about it. Fantastic. So the big takeaway, Saquon Barkley is good.
Yeah. And even I found like, I like the Sirianni going over to H.A. Brown and say, "Can you read me a passage?"
Yeah.
I thought that was good. Like they were having fun with the book, and I just it kind of confirmed what I had thought about the team that they were ready. Like they were so locked in that game. Yeah, they were ready. They were absolutely ready.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Do you think this is the best team you'll ever cover?
I never say ever, because ever's a long time, right? And yeah, but it's the best team I have covered for sure. And yeah, I mean, I think I could cover a better team here, but this team is undoubtedly special.
Yeah,
I like I like John Ganode. Shout out to John, telling Jalen that he's the MVP, or that he's the
Super Bowl MVP,
and Jalen says Super Bowl champ.
champ.
And that I think it's not. Now some people could say everything Jalen does is or I should say manufactured, but it's like for show. That's the skeptical pushback. I think Jalen is genuine about the winning, and I haven't written I was going to write a Jalen story this week, but I did the MVP thing. I might write a Jalen story for next week. But this anecdote that keeps coming to my mind is at the MVP press conference on Monday morning when he's holding the MVP, he's posing with the MVP trophy, and he said they finished the photos, and he says, "Can I hold that one?" Like he has to hold the Lombardi trophy, and I think that wasn't just like him sensing this photo op. I think that's genuinely how he feels. You saw that when he got told that he's the Super Bowl MVP. Like I think winning the Super Bowl is what really mattered to him. Although
I agree with that.
I gotta say, Jalen, you're up. You're up by 30 points in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes to go. The fat lady doesn't need to sing, right? Like you're allowed to smile at that point. They're not coming back.
Yeah. No, that's all right.
Yeah.
All right, Zachariah. Tomorrow is the parade.
Yeah. Can I ask you real quick? Who's the star tomorrow?
Huh?
Who's the star of the
Who's
parade?
the star tomorrow?
Yeah. Who's your prediction for like the guy who everyone's talking about on Saturday morning on forward?
It's gonna be interesting because no one's gonna they're not gonna try to do the Kelsey speech, right?
Sure.
I think Mailata would be my guess in terms of somebody who has a lot to say and can do so eloquently. Like if they're going that direction. Actually, I think Zack Baun could be a sleeper if he has the liquid courage to do it. But I also think, people are saying BG in the chat. Like, BG could drop the mic. He could say, "This is it for me. Like this has been a ride. Like this could be his moment."
I've heard people take Dickerson.
Yeah.
Does anyone?
I don't think Dickerson cares to talk that much.
Yeah. Does anyone try to out Kelsey?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think anyone's gonna really go for that.
Okay. Because it's been done, or because?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm curious to see.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah,
I guess his Dom has Chris Long's jacket.
That's a good one. Yeah, I kind of agree with you, actually. I know people were like trying to say that he knew, but yeah, I think Dom is the answer.
Okay.
I'm going with CJ just because that's what people said. So I think I think CJ has something to say.
Okay.
Why don't you pitch or promote our coverage?
That's what I was going to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Our coverage We'll be tomorrow. Talk to you then.
Wait, that's a sell if I've ever heard one.
We're going to be live at 5 o'clock tomorrow. Me, Fran Duffy, the professor, Dana Summon, will be taking you through all of our thoughts about watching it. I'm going to be taking the kids to watch everything go by from, middle South Philly-ish area. And then as they proceed, they're going to go by Julia. They're going to go by Derek Bonner. They're going to go by Zach and Reed. They're going to go by Chris at the Art Museum. So we'll have, all kinds of stuff covered. And then we will talk about it on the show at 5 o'clock with someone in Fran Duffy who has been on this parade route in a Super Bowl parade before. So he'll have all kinds of experience to pull from. So we look forward to that. And as Julia says in the chat, if you've got any good footage, send it along to PHLY. Sure. We can play that bad boy. So that'll be fun. 5 p.m. Be there or be square.
Yeah, I'm going to be down there at 11. I'll probably be around, I guess it's Broad and Locust, that area. And then I'm going to walk over from there to however close I can get to the Art Museum. I'm going with my son. And so if you see me, please say hello. I love, seeing our viewers and our listeners. Eager to, I'm eager for my son to experience it more than anything else. Right. And yeah, I would just say, like, this is not a media. This is for the fans. Like, this isn't. So enjoy it. Like, this is for you. You guys have been, all you fans have been invested in the team, and this parade is your way to celebrate the team that you love. So enjoy it. It's a memory of a lifetime for all of you.
There you go. All right. That'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast, presented by Bet365 and Ace Hardware Home Services. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. We will talk to you tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Enjoy the parade. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.